This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pannell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, any place, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining us live from the Saratoga backstretch. Coming up in a few, Sean Clancy from the Saratoga Special. He'll be joining us. Jump Day on Wednesday. We'll talk a little jump action from last week, a little jump action coming up today. Get some ideas there. Ed Martin from the Association of Racing Commissioners International. He heads up that organization. He was on the town hall panel last night that wrapped up EquestriCon, and he offered up some good thoughts, and I thought we'd bring him in this morning and maybe touch on some of those notes as well. And then towards the end of the program, our friend Peter Thomas Fornatal, who covers the contest scene for the Daily Racing Forum, will update you on the Saratoga contest that was held here last week. Kind of a unique winner over the 2 days, and just the contest formats that now Daily Racing Forum is sponsoring, which play into a year-end championship event. So we'll talk a little bit about contests with Pete towards the end of the program, but we kicked off the program this week. Really happy. In for EquestriCon, in for a little Saratoga racing. We have him by phone plenty, but haven't had him here live on the set ever. Our friend Dave Rodman. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Seth. Great to be live at Saratoga rather than on the phone from Maryland.
Absolutely.
But it's you got a nice setup back here on Clear Court.
Yeah, we love it back here. Horses working out behind us all morning, and you can look out the front of the tent. Although it was last year or the year before, I think it was last year. We almost had a horse come into the tent.
Oh, really?
There was a lot of yelling, and you knew something was going on, and it was a Jim Bond horse, it turned out. And he literally came right to our opening there on the front of the tent, looked in, and kind of thought about it for a second, and then thankfully moved on, because that would have been an unwelcome guest.
Camera shy is in the horse's pedigree, I guess. Half the camera shy.
Which worked out for us this time. Usually not so much, but here it was good. Let's touch a little bit. I asked you when you went on the set, and I kicked off the handicappers report by talking a little bit about EquestriCon. If folks weren't tuned in then, I thought the 2 days were really a success. There was a lot of great buzz in the building, both Monday and Tuesday. My panel was well attended. I went to a couple other panels, and they were well attended. A lot of audience participation. As I say, there was just good buzz in the building amongst the attendees and panelists alike. You were on one of the panels yesterday. What were your thoughts?
I thought it went great. I mean, it's a place where racing comes together for one big convention, so to speak. You get to meet a lot of the people you hear about, you see on television, on various outlets, and they're all in one place. The farms for Kentucky were there. Maryland was represented by the Maryland horse breeders. I was happy to see them up here. Lots of famous jockeys, trainers on the trainer panels. Ron Turcotte was there signing Secretariat memorabilia. Barbara Livingston was there signing her book about old friends. And they were if you spend the whole day there, you'd meet just about 80% of the people in the game, I would think. So
and that was a nice thing about yesterday with the dart day. A lot of horse people in the trade show here just walking around with the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the panels were excellent. I sat in on the women in racing panel, actually. Maggie Wolfendale was the host of that and held that forum until I had to move on.
I think our friend Teresa Gennaro
was on there too. Very, very interesting panel as well. So I didn't get to go to all the panels, but then I had to run to do ours.
No, I was in the same boat. Monday I had a panel, and some of them overlapped as well. There was some I would have liked to have made it to, but I managed to talk to a lot of participants, and everybody said, good participation, good crowds at the panels. And
speaking with Dan Torgman, one of the founders, they're going to learn from this year's experience, tweak it a little bit, find out what worked and what didn't work, and I think it's only going to grow, and I really think they have a heart in keeping it here at Saratoga.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition to the Saratoga calendar. And I'll also mention, because I alluded to it during the Handicappers Report and didn't get to it, Monday night they had a screening downtown at the theater downtown, the first Saturday in May, as part of the broader EquestriCon concept, and they had a panel afterwards. Dale Romans, Kieran was on the panel, John Hennigan, one of the director producers of the movie. I'd never seen it before. Have you ever seen First Saturday?
No, I haven't.
It is worth doing. The Barbaro year, they followed 6 horses throughout the Triple Crown Trail, and they had a Q&A afterwards, and as a guy who graduated from film school, I raised my hand and said, how did you luck onto they start at the beginning of the year, and they wind up with the Santa Anita Derby winner, the Florida Derby winner, the Arkansas Derby winner, the Kentucky Derby winner, and the Belmont winner as the group of horses they started on at the start of the year. I said, did you have a much broader universe that then went by the wayside, or did you? And no, it was just they just picked the right horse. So I said, maybe you should have a Derby Trail tip sheet, because that was pretty good handicapping at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But it's definitely worth checking out.
And all the panels were great.
Yeah.
I mean, the people at the audience at our panels had great Q&A, and we could have probably gone on for their half an hour or an hour. So the fans were great, and they really embraced the whole idea. And it was fantastic to be on the panel with Tom Durkin, whom everyone admires, and Larry Colmus, now the voice of the Triple Crown and the voice of Naira Racing, and Travis Stone. His first Derby call. He nailed it. So it was great to be on that panel, and then they opened it up for Q&As, and we had one question about the tongue twister horses that you've called, and I've got a million of them on my list, and I can only remember one. Seaside Schiller, Say that 5. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Seaside Schiller in the 7th at Laurel,
Wasn't Caesar Kimmel known for that? He would particularly...
Flat Fleet Feet came up, right?
Yeah. God bless him. But so it was a great couple of days, and I was happy to be able to participate. And Dave was on a panel as well, so a nice event, and hopefully even better next year, because I'm sure it's coming back to Saratoga. Dave, before we get into some handicapping, because I asked you to maybe take a look at this afternoon, give us some ideas, but I wanted to go back to you and I talked about it on the phone, but now that I have you here live, I want to go back to just before the Preakness. There was a nice little blog put up, and there was a photo of you from your DJ days, and I wanted to go back to that and just remember that.
You don't have that in the archives.
There we go. And the first day we talked about it, I didn't realize it, but standing next to you, it's KC, right? From the Sunshine Band.
On the right was KC, and the Sunshine Band. Yeah.
And this was down in New Orleans, and you were a radio DJ before you became a track announcer.
Yeah, Marty with a Party. There's actually a horse named Marty with a Party now. Mary Epler bred the horse and named it after my old radio DJ names, kind of in response to Flash Phelps, who was named for Sirius XM DJ of the 60s on 6. Where I used to work for a period of time. That's what Flash, and I named Flash Phelps for Carol Kay, and also Action Andy, another horse I had named for our good man who just called me before we came on. Action Andy, our friend who's up in the press box all the time. And literally, if he's either at the casino or at the racetrack or in his regular job,
he is Action Andy.
So anyway, Mary pulled that twist. That was down in New Orleans many moons ago, back when disco was popular.
Why did they do that, though? Because, as you say, you became Marty Maxwell, right? You say you looked at the coffee can and came up with the last name as well.
Yeah,
Why did they go with the nom de plume in those days?
Marty Maxwell. I just looked my first radio job. I just in Mississippi. At a little radio station, AM radio station. I had no air name, and I looked at, there was a coffee can in the place, Maxwell House. And I was like, okay, Marty Maxwell, that's good. And it was, and then it became Marty with a Party. My buddy Terry Young, who was one of my, the people I admired listening to on the radio at the time, he I think just started calling me, "Hey, Marty with a Party, what's going on?" So.
But why did they do? Because around here there were a lot of in those days too. I don't know whether they do that so much now, but everybody had like an alias.
Yeah, well, I think
then when people chasing you down the street,
you gotta. Well, after the last couple of times here at Saratoga, I needed an alias to get out of town. John Hawker on the starting gate here. He works in Maryland. He just reminded me about Strong Mandate. He told me about. He said, "I think this horse can run." I'm telling you. And I went Tap City about 3 years ago. Here, last time I was here, and Strong Mandate wins. Right? He pays like $27, and he calls me. He says, "Did you play that horse? I told you about that horse." I said, "No, I'm in Scranton, PA, at the Turkey Hill gas station, getting gas to go home on a credit card." So.
We've all been there.
So I needed an alias to get out of town after my last Saratoga experience, but today is going to be better. I know it's going to be better.
That's
right?
what we're looking for. And let's get some ideas for today. And let's jump in. We're going to jump in with the 6th race, and we talked about this in the handicapping report. I wrote lottery at the top of my page here, so I'm interested to see which direction you went. I went 7, 3, 4, and 5. I thought the claim back from Rudy was intriguing with Saratoga Wildcat, so I used that one on top. But I thought you could make a case for all 7 in here. What did you think of the 6th?
I like the Rudy horse off the claim. Actually, 2 horses, like the 2 Old Upstart off the claim and the reclaim from Rudy. So I'm kind of going to concentrate, maybe just use those 2 in the exacta and see. Old Upstart's 1 for 1 at Saratoga and goes to the Gargan barn there. And I just think that maybe he's just a right horse at the right time and comes out of a strong race, three back here at Belmont, that $32,000 claiming race, and the Rudy Rodriguez reclaim. Always like the reclaims. Yeah. It looks to be in form. He's a real steady horse. He's 2 for 3 at the Spa.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit of a skull buster, but again, it seemed. I think the betting public's going to land on the Rudy horse on the reclaim and Rudy numbers. 7th race today, optional claimer. They're 5.5 on the grass. I thought the entry was kind of strong here. I preferred Commend. Amelia's Wild Ride. I brought this up on the handicapping show. I said you go down the DRF PPs, the last line there, beat the Venerable Ben's Cat, which. Made the name stick out in my head because I remember that day. Amelia's Wild Ride, I think, has some nice class in here, so I put that one underneath.
Ben's Cat, I mean, it's funny, I almost used that race yesterday as my favorite race that I called for the seminar. It was either Fleet Alex or Spicer Cub going behind the starting gate, or more representative Maryland, the great Ben's Cat, and there he shows up in the running line. Yeah, I mean, Commend to me is like a horse everybody's going to use because he comes out of the Green Mask race. So got to use him. Interesting that the Maryland shipper is here today too. A couple of Maryland shippers. Uncle Huge, who's got a lot of early speed, perhaps to prompt. Amelia's Wild Ride is an interesting horse. I'm a little concerned about the trainer on the circuit. Jane Sabelli's a great trainer, but doesn't often fire here. So I went to the Zoot Suit, and hope we have a Zoot Suit riot, as they say, at the windows. Coming off a race that was taken off the turf that appears strong, tried Saratoga, got respect at the window back in August of 2016, had a little trouble in there, prompted the pace, didn't get beat that far, but appears to be in better form right now for a trainer who's really not known for turf sprint wins, but he has won on the turf, a Winsky, with turf sprints, most of them being with this horse. So interesting that he's in form, comes out of a strong race, might get a good flow trip to the outside chasing, and was respected in his only Saratoga appearance, not as long time ago, but pretty far back, in another trainer's barn.
Yeah, I had that one down in the mix as well. I have no arguments there. All right, the 9th race today, the feature, the Bolton Landing. I went with Fairyland just on the confidence they showed to take this one over to Royal Ascot. I think Wesley Ward getting maybe a little class relief today on the return to the United States. I went 1, 8, 3, and 6. What did you see in the Bolton
the Lasix goes back on. The blinkers also go on Fairyland today. I know that they were really, really high on this filly. This is a strong race from top to bottom, Seth. I mean, Slide Beauty, I thought deserved a little bit of a look off the Woodbine appearances. Lifetime Citizen, switching barns there to Serpe, buy, sell, and hold, maybe as a pace prompter. But I went to Sugar Queen, who's by gemologist out of Miss Patricia, I believe a half or a full to Geo Patricia, who was a turf winner, and I think is going to sit a great trip in this race. I like that they tried to get her on the turf, was taken off the turf, sat a good trip, relaxed, and took over, and I think she'll have just enough speed in front of her, but won't get too far back enough here for Pletcher in the feature today. And the strong point in Maryland racing to me has been the 2-year-olds down there. I mean, Sagamore horses coming up here and winning. And this filly that's in our race in the feature today, March Express, was very impressive. Don't let the 52 buyer figure fool you. March Express. I just saw. Madam X. I'm confused by X horses. Madam X for Susan Cooney, and the old see the trainer, bet the trainer angle. I just happened to be over by the starting gate to see our guys from Maryland in the starting gate, and who's standing there but Patrick Cooney, just chatting away. Don't get fooled by a lower figure for Madam X, because Sheldon Russell had a mittful the entire way. He's coming up here. Now, can she handle pressure up front? I think she'll be tested today, but she's one of those long shots that if I leave off my ticket on a trip to Saratoga and leave the Maryland horse off, you know what happens.
The hometown cooking. All right, you had an idea for us in the finale. Got about a minute left, but we don't want to bypass a 20-1 shot that you think may offer a little value.
Well, it's been a while since we've liked a horse that's paid a big price on the show. Breeders' Cup races
the day before Breeders' Cup. It's something Air, H-E-I-R. I remember.
Strong Air, maybe.
Strong, but you gave out $50-1 or $50, it was a good get.
Well, I'm going to try a Lucas horse in here, Archival, and who's taken a drop from maiden special to maiden claiming. 3 wide the first turn, last out some lick, and then was just basically eased. But comes out of some strong races, both with the blinkers first time at May and the debut at Saratoga on the turf. So perhaps a turnaround here in a race I think anybody can win. Multiple horses in the finale. I don't think the first 3 legs are going to produce any big surprises, and maybe hope for a long shot to kick off for that last leg in the pick 4. Go home, either go home or go home. Go home a winner or go home.
Go home. I like that. Go home or go home. And when do you head back to Laurel?
Well, but Thursday we'll be back racing live in Maryland on Friday.
And it's been a good summer season, right?
Strong handle. We've been forced off the turf the last couple of weekends with rains, but even with the rain and off the turf, our handle's been strong. The last meet was up about 20%. We're trending on a positive note again.
Very good. Mm-hmm. Dave Rodman, our friend from the Maryland Racing Circuit. Again, happy to have him in here live after many visits via the phone. Good luck this afternoon.
Ben's Cat Day, November 11th down there.
Oh, nice.
And Maryland Million Day coming up. So there's just a couple of points to look forward to.
Excellent. We enjoy following Maryland Racing all year long now. All right. Again, Dave, good luck this afternoon.
Thanks, Seth. All right, take care.
We'll take a break. When we come back, Sean Clancy is in the house. We'll talk a little jump racing with Sean right after this. Stay tuned.
Whether you're winding down from a day at the track or gearing up for the night, celebrate summer with live music, fabulous food, and the best happy hour in Saratoga. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Nighttime thoroughbred racing is back at Capital OTB. Now through Labor Day, Capital OTB will be accepting wagers on nighttime thoroughbred racing from across the country, featuring evening racing from Del Mar and Woodbine, and now it's even easier to be part of the action. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com on all your digital devices, or use our newly designed mobile app. So even when the sun goes down, thoroughbred racing continues at capitalotbbet.com. Log on today.
Coming right back, the American, the European, and it is theatrical in front. Trempolino driving hard, full out into trying to get him, and here is the winner, and theatrical has won it. Absolutely spectacular.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Going on now at Capital OTB. It's Bet 100, get 100. Simply open a new Capital Bets account. Bet $100 and get $100 cash back. That's free money just in time for Saratoga. Bet 100, get 100 now at Capital OTB.
Relax with a signature cocktail or one of our world-class wine selections while enjoying indoor or outdoor dining for lunch and dinner. The Diamond Club at the Embassy Suites, winner of the 2016 and 2017 Wine Spectator Award of Excellence.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Wednesday morning, we kick off another week here at Saratoga. Looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day. We kick things off on the jump side. So as always, on a Wednesday morning, one of the Clancy brothers joins us. And I think it's the first visit this year for Sean Clancy.
First time here, yep.
All right, happy to have you on board.
Thanks.
And we're going to talk a little, go back to last week, because I'd like your thoughts on how the jumpers have been playing over the first few weeks, and we'll then look forward to today as well. But, of course, Sean and Joe do the Saratoga special. I, again, continue to, when you guys are in, highly recommend, pick up the copies of the Saratoga special. You can find it all over the racetrack. And then locally with Stewart's and the supermarkets.
Yeah, it goes around the hotels, Stewart's, bars, restaurants, coffee shops, as many places we can get it.
And online, thisisHorseRacing.com.
Yeah, This Is Horse Racing. You can download the PDF right there, and it's very easy to do that.
And not only, great coverage of racing, your handicappers do a great job as well. We should remind people that starting last year or 2 years ago, on the days you don't publish, the handicappers are still putting pits on the website.
We do the handicapping on the website. This is Horse Racing, and we do features on the days that we don't print. We do some previews, recaps, and handicapping, so you can get it all right there.
I went online and pulled up one of your most recent articles. It was kind of interesting, talking about being an owner. I asked the guys before we came on this morning if they could quickly go out and get the ninth race from just a few days ago, August 11th, down at Laurel. Our friend Dave Rodman was making the call, but we're going to watch the number 9 motivational. River D, those are your silks, and you talked in the column about it. Take us through this. He's going to be the number 9 horse in here, and you talk about, you describe watching the signal from up here in Saratoga. Follow us through the race here with motivational.
Yeah, I was that guy watching the simulcast TV and yelling and screaming. And right here, I thought we were in big trouble. He's back there last in a red cap.
He's on the outside last there?
Yeah,
okay.
Way back
You are in big trouble.
I'm thinking, man, this is a horse we owned last year. He's actually run some good races on the flat. We switched him to jumping earlier this spring. I just thought he'd be a slam dunk jumper, and really wasn't. He ran once at Nashville. We pulled him up. He wasn't very good at it, to be honest. So we switched him back to the flat, and he was third the other day and a 2 other then, and this is his second start of the summer.
So he's in that fourth group, on the outside in that fourth group right now?
Yeah, still outside, just on the outside of the 2 horses. He's about 8th, I guess.
Are you walking away from the screen
yeah,
in disgust at this point?
I mean, I knew he'd stay, and it was good turf, which I thought would help him. I mean, it's a mile and a 16th. He's a real stayer. So I thought maybe this horse would come back, but I thought we were in big trouble here. And of course, when you're watching the simulcast,
he still isn't making a move.
He's not making any move, and Fergal Lynch is riding him. He gets after him here. I mean, he's probably the first guy to turn up the stick, and I was still worried here. I was hoping the jumper stamina would kick in here. So that's him coming on the outside in a red cap now a little bit. I mean, he's still grinding away. I'm still thinking, just get a piece here, right? As an owner, you're like, come on, just pass some horses, just pass a few horses.
Yeah, you're dead here.
Exactly. Then I start really yelling here. This is when I ran up about 2 inches from the simulcast screen and started yelling like he could hear me.
Oh, man, that's gorgeous.
So then he comes running now, which is good. Finally kind of get going.
And that has got to be a great feeling. Not just a win, but a win like that where the whole way around you're going, I'm out of it.
That was fun. Like for me, I write a column every day, and people say, well, what do you write? You know what you're going to write about. And most days I don't know what I'm going to write about. That day I didn't have a column. I was kind of bumbling around the races. So I thought, I'll watch the race from here. And when the horse won, I whipped around, and you're kind of looking around like for somebody to celebrate. And just like everybody, the people watching the race are watching another horse, so they're disgusted or disappointed, right? And he was a big price, so most people didn't bet him. And I'm kind of ranting and raving, just looking around, and
It's
Ben
the old
Gowan,
Valvano after the
exactly,
basketball
yeah,
tournament.
yeah, right. Somebody, I got to hug somebody. So Ben Gowans is a great kid who works for us, and he kind of bounded up, and he had seen it, and he goes, "You got your column? You got your column today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I do." So yeah, it was fun. I mean, I wrote a column very much about what it's like to be an owner and how much frustration there is and how many days just go by, and there's really nothing to kind of look forward to as you pay a day rate every day and just handle bad news. And then that moment, and it's not even the whole race, it's really the last, it's like the last 3/8 of a mile or quarter of a mile is why you do it. It's that moment of pure elation of winning a race. And I never, when I rode jump races, I mean, I did it for I love the winning, and it was really much for the thrill and the kind of the competition of it. And I never could quite understand why people owned horses. I didn't understand. Like, I don't know why. What kind of thrill do you get out of owning them? Because while you're riding them, that is obviously the thrill of the race. And then when I stopped riding, it started and started owning horses. It really it changes very much what goes into it, and you realize how much of it means. You hire people that you trust, and you get involved with people like Jack Fisher. I rode First Call for Jack Fisher for 8 years. I mean, I literally would not have had the career I had except for Jack Fisher. So he trains motivational for me. We go through the highs and the lows of pulling the horse up in Nashville, and we're trying to regroup, and there's a couple other bumps in the road, and then we get him back going, and you win a race like that. It's just a special moment. Charlie Lepresti trained the horse originally on the flat for me, and he called and texted, and everybody was excited about it. So it was just kind of just that moment of winning a race, and it's more than just winning the race. It's about trusting people and enjoying something and sharing something. And my dad bet him. My dad got me into this crazy game, so he's home betting him. Yeah,
17 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big price. Dad bet him, and it was just a moment that we share, and with your friends and family. It's just special.
And you got a nice column out of it. Yeah, that's on the This Is Horse Racing website. You can pull that up and read it. When was it in the hard edition?
I think Saturday. I think that was Friday. I think it was in Saturday's edition.
So you can pull up the digital version of that, but it's also right at the top of the front page of This Is Horse Racing. And it was interesting to read, and it's fun to kind of relive that.
It was fun.
How many times have you watched it so far?
I've watched it several. That's about probably 10 or so. It's nice watching a winner.
I don't blame you. And it's River D Stable. How many horses do you have?
We're about 10 kind of jumpers and flat horses. A couple guys get involved and have fun with it, and I'm always looking. I mean, that horse I bought originally, he's a real stayer. He's by Fleet Express out of Benny the Dip Mare, and I think, okay, he'll be a jumper one day. I run him on the flat or over jumps, kind of depending on horse situation.
And I know I'll ask you, because I know just from being around you over the years up here at Saratoga, it seems like a handful of times during the year you come out of the paddock and kind of feel like, ooh, something good was in there. And you're a guy I kind of trust. If you walk by me with a feeling, I want to know what that feeling is. Have you had any paddock insights so far this year?
I've had a couple horses I like in the morning, and then racing in the afternoon. I had a good score while she was second, but Honey Don't of Bill Mott's, I watched her breeze one day, and I loved her. She was second, paid a big price to place, and I actually had Trombetta's horse Kabang was a big price in I've been watching that horse for years. I tried to buy him as a jumper, so I couldn't get the deal done as a jumper, so I bet him, which was fine. He paid a big price.
All works out.
That's good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't buy him, you bet him, right?
All right, let's get to some of the jump action, because I wanted to pull up last week's race and just get your opinion. We're now halfway through the season. We have a number of jump races under our belt. We're going to go back to last Wednesday, watch the first race on the card. It'll be number 3, Coral Society. Your brother Joe liked this horse at 6-1 when he was in here talking last week. Kind of sat in a nice little stalking position. Again, the number 3 is going to win, and then as again, there's no last fence in the stretch. The last fence is on the back stretch, and folks kind of feel like, then it's a race to the wire. As I've been looking, it seems like you don't want to be in front necessarily, but maybe stalking a little bit off the pace. That was the case for this horse, was kind of stalking and then made that move late to kind of take the lead and hold off a late charge here. But what are your thoughts on the styles that are winning so far this year?
It's very different. I mean, for a guy that rode up here, I mean, when I was riding, there were 3 fences down the backside and obviously the last fence in front of the stretch. So and you very much rode a race to, you're always kind of siphoning your horse and trying to, get to the last fence with horse. So it's really different. I have a little bit of a hard time knowing how it's going to run and what kind of flow of a race. Having said that, I think the most important thing is getting cover and saving ground, and that's just like any turf race. If you ask these turf jockeys, the good turf riders will tell you need cover, you need to save ground. If you lose ground around the first turn, you've got to save ground around the second turn, and vice versa. If you save ground around the first turn, you'll have enough horse to get to circle a little bit, at least swing off the turn, and have some finish. And Coral Society is a perfect example of that. He got cover. He was sitting third inside, had cover the whole way. Then he actually got to the lead a little sooner than probably you'd want, but he got there very easily. Darren Nagel gave him a beautiful ride in that he didn't do any running. He sat. He got in front. Knowing he got there too soon, leaving the backside, he sat as still as he could all the way around the turn and really never got after him until kind of the last, eighth or 3/16, which makes all the difference. And when you see these guys with a lot of daylight and doing too much the whole way, they don't finish. It's like Kremlin last week, and he ran 2 weeks ago. He just had daylight the whole time. He was doing too much. Moscato earlier in the meet, he was outside, daylight, just doing too much. Just like these turf races. I mean, you see in the flat races, when these horses when they get outside, they don't get cover. And you watch Johnny and Jose Ortiz and the guys that are really good at it. They make sure they get cover, they stay inside, and then that's when they have enough horse to kick. Rosario will he'll get in trouble sometimes, but he's brilliant at saving ground, and he stays inside, and that's why his horses kick at the end. They go, oh, that horse kicked, but the reason he kicked was because he had cover the whole way, and that's why he has enough horse. And the jump races are similar to that.
All right, let's get an idea for this afternoon. First race is a non-winners to 2 lifetime, 2 1/16 miles. I went, and I'm thinking the betting public's right with me. Matasawe, the number 6 horse. We're going to take a look at this race from July 11th. Going to be the number 5 horse in here and win off by over 7 lengths as the 9-5 favorite. And I just thought, this was a great race, but it was only the second start over the jumps. The first one was a good second, then in the second start wins, so lightly raced, probably plenty upside potential over the jumps. And in this race, half of the field hasn't won on the jumps yet. So I like the factor that this horse seems to have taken to the new career, as it were. So I put that one on top. But what did you say?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a standout in here. He won that very impressively. Racetrack experience, can handle the firm turf, can handle tight track. He drew off. He won by 7 1/4 that day. He's got flat form. If you look back at his flat form, he was 5th, beating 2 lengths in the valedictory. He was a grade 3. Some of those other races are very good. 3rd in the Secretariat. He's a good solid 2 other than. I think he's a standout in here. Like you said, he's running against a lot of maidens. The only other winners of the race is Kremlin. I think he's coming back on short rest. I'd rather him come back a little bit. I think it's tough to come back in 2 weeks. I think he'll get a better trip and better ride than he did the last time. And Bishop's Castles, he won a maiden claimer. He's the other winner. Any Given Royal's a winner, but he comes back in 2 weeks too. So I think Mutasawa is a standout. Underneath him, I would use Bishop's Castle as a long shot. I think he's a little bit better than some of his form shows. The last race he made a little mistake, but it wasn't really his fault. If you're trying to get a price, trying to get a little value in there, you could use him. After that, I don't know, maybe Kremlin off of a rider switch and maybe gets a little better.
I thought Buck Benny with the stalking style I thought was kind of interesting with maybe a player underneath, but it does look like maybe you got a horse to start your daily double with here with the South.
Yeah, he's a standout in there.
Sean, appreciate the visit as always. Again, highly tout people picking up a copy of the Saratoga Special, the hard copy, or go online. This is horseracing.com. Good luck this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Sean Clancy, we'll take a break. When we come back, Ed Martin, head of the Association of Racing Commissioners International. He was on the town hall panel that wound up at QuestroCon yesterday. That was interesting. We'll talk about some of those topics right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're Loose on the Lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., Loose on the Lead, Capital OTB.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today. No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, now the president of the Association of Racing Commissioners International, Ed Martin. Good morning, Ed.
Morning, Seth. How's it going?
Very good. I said, caught you on the town hall panel last night. Very intriguing. You were entertaining, gave out some good information. I thought we'd convey some of that to the audience this morning. But before we do that, I've asked everybody if Dave Rodman was on a panel, and I talked about it in the handicapper support as well. What were your impressions of EquestriCon? Year one, I thought they did a great job.
I think they did a wonderful job. Yeah. I wish more people in town came. It'd be great for people that are not racing fans to kind of get exposed to the sport, but I think it was a great first year. I hope they do it every year going forward.
And I think there's a buzz that will pull in people next year because everybody had a positive reaction, panelists and the attendees, so I think that kind of buzz then gets people saying, oh, I missed it. Next year I'm
Well, there's
on
so
board.
many different aspects of this sport, and a lot of people don't really get into that, and it's a great way to be exposed to it all.
And there was panels that addressed that. There was a couple of photography panels, one for young people, one just general. And so it wasn't all like hardcore betting. They addressed the fans, the hardcore bettor, with handicapping panels as well. And you talked a little bit on the panel yesterday and made the great point that these days everybody has technology in their pocket that allows them to evangelize about the sport on their own.
You know, people love horses. And even if you're not a racing fan, people love horses. And what do we have? We have horses galore. And most people don't really understand that a lot of people that work in this industry, and I hate to say it the way I'm about to say it, they might love their horses more than they love their neighbors. But these horses are well cared for. They have personalities. And, we're all walking around with telephones that can take HD video, and we ought to just, film these special moments with our horses and put them up on Twitter, put them on the internet, and let people see what this sport is all about.
Yeah, I agree completely. And again, that was a great event. Put out ideas like that, and hopefully we move forward and do act on some of those and promote the sport a little bit. And one of the other things you talked about, one of the reasons I asked you on this morning, because I've heard you quote some of these numbers before, and I want to put it out there, because this was in some of the panels, this topic came up, racing and medication, certainly one of the hot button issues over the past probably 10 years in the sport and beyond, but it's become really a hot button issue more recently. And, there's a lot of hand-wringing in the sport and a lot of lamenting in the sport, but you tossed out some numbers on testing and positives in horse racing as compared to other sports that I think is worth bringing out and paying more attention to.
Well, I think what the ARCI did over 30 focus groups all across the country at racetracks around the country last year. And the number of people who don't really understand what goes on in horse racing and how we compare to other sports I found that shocking. You hear a lot of people commenting on the internet or in some of the trade publications as if and they're talking sometimes without the knowledge that they need to have. First of all, there is total uniformity among all racing jurisdictions in North America and beyond that we do not allow performance-enhancing drugs to be in a horse when the horse races, period. You hear a lot of people say, oh, gee, we don't have different rules in different states. For the most part, you don't. Where you do have a difference is in some states, you have substantial uniformity as to when you're supposed to stop using certain therapeutic and appropriate medications. Some states you don't have total uniformity, it's a difference of maybe a day. Okay? So it's not a big deal. It's like riding through town and the speed limit was 45 and now it's 50. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to be unsafe. It doesn't jeopardize the integrity of the overall sport. We do more drug testing in the United States than they do worldwide for all of the World Anti-Doping Agency labs. World Anti-Doping Agency labs worldwide, this is the Olympics and everything else that they do, 304,000 samples. Just in the U.S., the state racing commissions do 330,000 samples, okay? Now, the Olympic testing is about 197,000. So they take all these samples from their athletes, and 99.2% come back with nothing in it. For all the testing that we do, 99.5% come back with nothing in it. And what they catch in the Olympic labs, and they document this all in the World Anti-Doping Agency report, they're not catching anything that we cannot catch and do not catch. Now, do we have a problem? We have the same problem that they have, and that's the stuff we might not know about or we haven't developed the test for. But our testing has become so sensitive that people are complaining that we're seeing things at minute picogram levels that we could never see before. And so this is a big red herring in some respects. And behind it is, I think, the debate that's been going on in this sport over Lasix. Mm-hmm. We allow Lasix in North America. It's Canada and the United States. It's an equine welfare program. It is a medication that has been scientifically proven to be of benefit to the health of the horse to treat or mitigate against exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhage, which is a condition that has recently been elevated in its degree of seriousness by the American College of Veterinary Internal Medicine. So this is an equine welfare. And those people that want to outlaw this, you know, they have things like they call them therapeutic use exemptions in human sport, where they allow their athletes, if they have a medical reason, to train and compete under the influence of all sorts of performance-enhancing drugs that we do not allow in horse racing. So they show a certain degree of consideration to their athletes. Those people that are pushing this ban would not have us extend the same consideration to our horses that we extend to humans. And you know, these are the issues. If we're going to help this sport, these are the issues that are not going to help this sport. We can argue amongst ourselves. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. You know, it's a terrible mess that's been made.
And you brought up one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine. You mentioned a newspaper article with a big syringe in the top, and it throws out the term doping, and they're talking about Lasix, which is a legal drug and as you say, everybody knows about it. It's completely transparent.
It's in the program. You know, a therapeutic use exemption in the Olympics. You don't know which athlete, what drug, and in which competition. We put it right in the program, and it's only one. It's Lasix. And they got this federal bill, right? They come up with this federal bill. Last year, they handicapped the federal bill of having a 3% chance of getting passed. And people are spending a ton of money on doing this. Millions of dollars being spent on this. Now the chance is 7%. So that's a 93-1 long shot. But at the rate they're growing, it's going to take them 12 years just to get to a 50-50 shot. And for all the money being spent on lobbyists and PR firms and consultants and press events and so forth, if you took that money and you put it into research, into anti-doping, if they matched that money with the money that is currently given to the Racing Medication and Testing Consortium, we'd be further down the road. I mean, there's so much stuff being diverted on this argument over Lasix, and it's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
It's a PR situation for the industry, I think, and I think we got to put out the numbers, as you say, and just make some of this information a little more transparent, and maybe there would be a shift in some of the thinking about it. I want to just touch on also, again, the Association of Racing Commissioners International. What's the mission of the organization?
We're the umbrella group of the officially sanctioned regulators of the sport. We're like the referees, the people, our members are the referees. Nobody really likes the referee. Sometimes your steward's going to call a race here a certain way, and you may like the call, you may not like the call, depending upon who you bet on. It's the same as in any other sport. We develop best practice regulatory standards. We provide technology services to the racing commissions, and we help them work through the various issues. And a lot of people don't understand exactly what the racing commissions do. And this is a tough sport to police because there's so many different moving parts.
Yeah, and a lot of the discussion of the question of over the past couple of days, and just in general in the sport, is promotional and how do we pull people in. And I found it intriguing. You talked about your days being on the Racing and Gaming Board here in New York, but also went back to the New York I Love New York campaign, which you said you guys got into and kind of changed up the thinking a little bit, juiced up the tourism.
Well, if you're going to market a sport, you're going to market anything, you accentuate the positive. I mean, we used to try to get people to come to New York and have their vacations. That's what the I Love New York campaign was about. And so we had high crime areas. We had a couple of places where you wouldn't want to bring tourists to. So we didn't go up and talk about that all the time and say, hey, come to this, come here, because your chance of getting mugged is probably about 90%. No, you accentuate the positive. And this sport is competing with every other form of entertainment. We've got casino gambling. We've had a tough time competing with that. We might get sports betting. This sport is at a real crossroads right now, and it's time for everybody to come together and realize all the positive things that go on in this sport. This is the greatest reality show that's not on TV. And I suggested it yesterday, and I think the folks from Fasig-Tipton kind of looked at me. And I said, well, you could make a reality TV show out of the sale. Yeah. You could call it Battle of the Kings, and have somebody kind of cover the sale and do a, who's trying to get what horse and so forth. I mean, you could put some drama in.
I thought the representative from Sagamore at the end of the panel made a great point too. That our sport, he said they had a meeting and somebody had brought up the point that the sport is a situation where we can't afford Hatfields and McCoys. We got to start to come together, right, and everybody kind of point in the same direction. Before you go, I want to ask you one question, and just on the overall, overseeing the sport. I've always had a question, and there is a group I know, and maybe you can talk a little bit about it. People look at races and occasionally see a race where they scratch their head, something didn't look right there. And I always think, well, just because that happened doesn't mean that there was hanky-panky. I mean, somebody wins the lottery every week, even though it's 2 million to 1 or whatever. So just because you look at the race and it doesn't look right, that doesn't mean there's something. But I think where we would know is if you look at the pools, and then the hanky-panky out on the racetrack, or the suspicious also kind of gets backed up by something a little funny there. There is a group who watches the wagering every day, right?
There's the Thoroughbred Racing Protective Bureau. They do a good job. The guy that runs that is a man by the name of Curtis Linnell. He is an expert at looking at this. He's got a staff that Racing Commission would reach out to them, or a fan could, or a track could reach out to them and say, this doesn't look right. I mean, we had that situation with Valponi back in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and That turned out to be an inside computer crime with the tote company. And it didn't take long to crack the crime once we were on it. And the question is, there are people who get lucky. You get lucky streaks, and you get hot streaks, and you get cold streaks. That doesn't mean anybody's cheating. I'll tell you one thing that's out there. Every now and then you hear about a potential with a jockey with a buzzer. Well, we have racing commissions that have borrowed equipment from the Department of Homeland Security that are high-tech cameras that just look like an ordinary Nikon camera on the rail that a fan would use, that can take a picture and see if there's any metal.
Oh.
Wild stuff. And there are commissions that have been using. I mean, people don't know the extent of what goes on in this sport. It's like the drug testing. When I first started working 20 years ago with the New York Racing and Wagering Board, we would take a post-race sample and we would test for, the initial screening was for maybe 225 substances. Today, the initial screening is for about 2,000 substances and could be as high as $3,500. They've got a gizmo in the New York lab that can screen for 3,500 different substances. Our testing has become far more precise, and most of our labs, almost all of our labs, are accredited to the same international standard that all of the Olympic testing labs are accredited to. And so for people to walk around and dump on what's going on in racing, that hurts the sport. We could use help from people rather than have people out there hurting the sport.
Hopefully this helps too to get some of those numbers and whatnot out there, and just, as they say, make it more transparent. That I think a lot of people are just kind of unaware of some of these facts that mitigate some of the complaints and the negativity.
But there are cheaters.
And absolutely, and that's why you guys are there.
That's why we're here. Yeah. I mean, Lance Armstrong beat the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency in the WADA labs 200 times before somebody dropped a dime on him, and they knew exactly how to put a case together.
Yeah. And so, again, that's why you guys are here, the Association of Racing Commissioners International. Ed, we appreciate the visit this morning, the thoughts, and again, you were very entertaining on the panel yesterday.
Now you're going to tell me who's going to win the third race?
I'll give you a little info. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Peter Thomas Fornatal. He covers tournaments for the Daily Racing Forum. We'll talk a little tourney action right after this. Stay tuned.
No matter what you're craving or when you crave it, we've got plenty of options for you. Whether it's a hearty breakfast, light lunch, or relaxing dinner, our full-service restaurant and bar will satisfy your every taste. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Nighttime thoroughbred racing is back at Capital OTB. Now through Labor Day, Capital OTB will be accepting wagers on nighttime thoroughbred racing from across the country, featuring evening racing from Del Mar and Woodbine, and now it's even easier to be part of the action. Simply log on to CapitalOTBBet.com on all your digital devices, or use our newly designed mobile app. So even when the sun goes down, thoroughbred racing continues at CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit RTN.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Going on now at Capital OTB. It's Bet 100, get 100. Simply open a new Capital Bets account. Bet $100 and get $100 cash back. That's free money just in time for Saratoga. Bet 100, get 100 now at Capital OTB.
With Saratoga's best outdoor patio, a spacious bar, and plenty of off-street parking, it's the perfect place to meet friends and relax after an exciting day at the track. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back. Well, tournaments have become a popular part of the whole racing milieu as it was over the past few years, and nobody does better at covering it than Pete Thomas Fornatel from the Daily Racing Forum. Pete, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Always a pleasure to be here, not just with a fantastic TV host, but a successful tournament player himself, taking down that low roller
Yeah,
the
I
other
chased
day.
that for 2 years, and everything fell into place a couple of Sundays ago, and our friend Brian Otto was a part of that as he gave me the trip note on Yummy Bear. As I looked up and I'm sitting in third and that race is coming up, he and I had handicapped the morning. He said he had a trip note, so I texted, how good's that trip note? He said, I think it's okay. So that helped put me over the top there. But that was a lot of fun. I continue to recommend to people, as I'm sure you do, Sundays and Mondays up here, those low rollers. And if folks aren't yet contest players, I think those kind of contests are a great way to get introduced.
Fabulous way to get involved, low risk, potentially pretty high reward, and most of all, fun and action all day long. Those are some of the things people love about tournaments. Of course, you can also get involved online. We have the DRF Tournaments website. We actually have a free contest today. Folks can start on the road to the $1 million no takeout World Championship of Handicapping in a free feeder today. Lots of other feeders and qualifiers for great tournaments around the country. Go to tournaments.drf.com to check it out.
And I want you to fill us in a little more on that. We see the logo there. We'll do that in just a second. But before we get to that, I wanted to go back to the end of last week here, where they had the Saratoga Challenge. Two-day event, but it's 2 separate days. But you wrote a great follow-up of it. It's 2 separate days, but for somebody, it all melded into one good week.
It's been a crazy year in the contest world. We've seen some amazing achievements. Pete Puich running first and second at the Horse Player World Series back in March. Blaise Brucato of Cleveland winning consecutive days, different contests at Keeneland in the spring. And now Terry Cook of Baltimore adds his name to the roster of impressive achievements in 2017. Wins Wednesday, backs it up on Thursday, and hits his own personal double. Just an incredible achievement. I still haven't caught up with him for a one-on-one interview, but one of the ways I cover contests is interviewing successful players in the pages of Daily Racing Forum. You can also find them at drf.com. Terry's certainly worthy of inclusion after that tour de force last weekend at Saratoga.
Yeah, to win, again, it's 2 days, but it's 2 separate contests. So to win with a pretty good crowd, particularly Equestricon brought in perhaps some more tournament players, certainly, and so to stack up with the field that shows up here for the Saratoga contest, pretty good accomplishment.
Absolutely. It was a field of, I think, 165 on Wednesday, 152 on Thursday. So not exactly beating 25 people in a small contest.
And Thursday, didn't he just run away with his winning bet?
Well, what was interesting was by the end halfway through the day, he was in deep water. He'd taken a big $700 swing. They started with a $1,000 bankroll. He took a $700 swing and was getting down to the nub. He played a one-way exacta in, I think, the 7th race and crushed it. 6-5 favorite over a 20-something to 1 long shot who was drawn inside. He thought the inside was good. Killed that, got up to 10,000. A couple of players made runs at him. Nobody got there. Terry Cook, the big story last weekend, the Saratoga Betting Challenge.
That is just incredible. And I mentioned Equestricon. I've talked about it already with some of the guests this morning. You were on a panel. I didn't get a chance to see it. I would have loved to have seen it. I got some good reviews of it. But just give us some of your thoughts. It was a contest player panel.
Absolutely. It was great. The biggest takeaway, and I'm going to be writing a piece for the Forum about this morning when I get out of here, is there were such strong opinions and differing views on which contest format is best. And for me, a contest player, first you're going to want to dip your feet in. You're going to want to play in a free feeder, play in the Saratoga contest, get a little bit of experience. But at that point, what you're going to want to do is handicap yourself a little bit and determine which contest format is right for you. We had a lot of difference in that for certain players for whom the live bankroll contests are best, others for whom the all-in format, where all your picks are in before the scheduled post time of the first race, and you go from there. Others who prefer to zig and zag online. Others still who are great in a long shot picking type contest like the Horse Player World Series. So that was what a lot of the discussion was. If people want to hear it, they still can, because I happen to Periscope it. It's actually pinned to my Twitter right now.
Great.
That's at Looms Boldly. If you want to go on there and log on and hear what Christian Helmers and Michael Bachok and Jeannie King and Paul Matisse and Jonathan Kinchin have to say. Nothing that I did, but I feel like you watch that video, you can't help but learn something just for how generous those players were with their insights into the tournament world.
Yeah, I'm in. We had the Matisse brothers here on Sunday morning a week ago. Really great discussion. Paul, of course, won the big Vegas tournament. Boston Spa guy brought home the $1 million, or the winning portion of the $1 million a year ago. And it was interesting. Duke the other day, I said, "You guys playing the tournament?" Duke said, that live money doesn't intrigue me that much anymore, because you get that end of the contest all in kind of thing, which knocked me out of the top 10 last year. I know Paul was playing over, so the brothers have differing views on the contest format. I'm kind of in the ballpark now where I think the pick and pray, the all-in kind of contest is more intriguing, because I think you do away with that, taking the shots at the end kind of thing that can get you. And it's just, for me, the contest last year, I was sitting at, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was up in the top 10 at the end, and I was like at $1,800, so I had a great profit. I'm not a rich guy, so for me, I'm not pushing all in. I'm thinking I had a great day already, so I took a little shot, but got beat by some guys who did push all in. And so that's just kind of I think I did good all day long, and then somebody just takes a shot at the end. So that format for me needs a little tweak, but I do away with that aspect with the all-in kind of contest.
Yeah, there's different, both have their place. In terms of online stuff, I think the more experienced you are, the more you tend towards liking all in and the ability to put all those picks in and go about your day. But I feel like to really get the contest bug, I'd love to see more of the live format online. Yes, people will take shots late, and that's frustrating, but there's also a really fun end game strategy when you can change your picks that reminds me a lot of poker. Joe Applebaum, who won the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge last year, sits out in Matisse Village, or whatever you want to call it, out by the Big Red Spring, had a great quote the other day. I don't even know if I've written about it yet in DRF, but he said, when it comes to the evolution of contest formats, right now we're in maybe the third or fourth inning, and it's going to continue to develop and evolve, and perhaps there's a way to take live bankroll play, which is already pretty great, and improve upon it even more in a way where it doesn't become so much. A lot of times it does become a one-race contest at the end. I think that's what Duke is objecting to. There's still some wonderful things about it, though, including the fact that even if you don't hit the prize pool, you can walk away with more money than you went in with.
Which is what happened to me last year. And so, I agree. I think that every format has its place. Some of these may be tweaked and maybe come up with some new formats that include the live money. We could, I think it was Duke that said maybe have some cuts, more cuts during that would do away with it. My thing was, when you get to maybe the last 2 or 3 races, you can't make a bet in an increment larger than you've made earlier in the day. So in other words, if you've topped out at a $50 exacta play early in the day, when you get to the last 2 or 3 races, all of a sudden you can't make a $1,000 exacta bet. That would be one of the tweaks I would put in there. But I like that. We probably are in about the third or the fourth inning, and some tweaks will kind of maybe please everybody as we go along.
From a game theory point of view, I think your idea is really good to limit what you can bet at the end. But of course, the racetracks aren't going to hear that.
Yeah, no, and that's from a business standpoint.
They're churn.
Go all in, baby. Yeah, no, and I get it. I completely understand. All right, as I said, let's talk a little bit about a little bit different this year for the Daily Racing Forum. You guys have now come up with essentially your own big contest, and a lot of your feeders are going to play into that. And the feeders hit all price points, as you say, with a free feeder today to kind of play into it. Talk a little bit about the new contest, the new format, the $1 million DRF tournament.
It's very exciting. This is the first major online contest that DRF have been involved in. The pitch is simple: $1 million, no takeout. Contest is limited to 200 spots, valued at $5,000 apiece. You're going to be able to buy in directly and play for no takeout. You mentioned cut lines before. The finals are going to have cut lines, so there's going to be a lot more strategy as opposed to just having to stab and pick numbers in this tournament. At the end of day one, you need to be in the top half of the field. Then it will advance to a second cut. You're really going to have a terrific 2 days. This isn't going to be about picking just a couple of horses. The qualifying format as you mentioned, you can start at as little as free. There are $11 feeders, but the most common feeders every operating day, we're running $95 round one contests where 1 in 7 players will advance to a grade 1 qualifier that will go directly into the finals. The next two are going to be Alabama Day and Travers Day. You can buy into those grade 1s for $580, but most people end up playing in these $95 round 1s, which happen every operating day, and push their way in from there. You can also feed in, if you don't want to spend the $95, you can feed into those. So there's a lot of different ways in. There's a lot of great information breaking it down precisely on the tournaments.drf.com website. I'm also available, I mentioned the Twitter before, at Looms Boldly, if folks have questions about how to get started. But this is a fantastic opportunity for horse players, and I'm really excited by the early response and excited to see how it all plays out.
I love the 1 in 7 percentages, because I've said a million times before, the online contests, I love them. I played them. I wish I had more time to play. I love contests. I don't have enough time to play as many as I would like to. But I've said these online contests, if you have like 150 people playing, I always say for about every 50 people, there's somebody that's going to have a day that, their one day a year will hit. You hope it's yours, but you don't know. So if it's 150, there's going to be 3 people who are just going to be insane. At the end of the day, you'll look at the total and think, how did they do that? And as I say, it could be you, and you hope it is. But 1 in 7, the percentages get a lot better.
You don't have to reach for that many prices to be 1 in 7. Yeah. You can play horses you like and be right 4 times and get your goal. Those other formats where it's 1 in 50, 1 in 65, especially if you're more of a bomb type player, I get it. That you're going to have those type of days often enough. But if you're interested in playing at the lower end of the odds spectrum, those player-friendly ratios at tournaments.drf.com are something to check out. I don't not against those other tournaments. They work for some people, and a lot of players are going to want to play in both. But for me personally, as a player, to be 1 in 7 and then 1 in 10 is just more doable than 1 in 70 on the day.
And just before we wrap up, I'll tout you had a nice article about the field that's coming together for the big tournament. And Will Ganowski, I think is his last name, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a guy who has now gotten his way into the tournament. But he wasn't a tournament player until last year or the year before when he picked up winning contest player.
Oh, I should have brought the prop. That was such a beautiful segue. Usually I remember to bring it. The Winning Contest Players, a book I had the great pleasure of writing a few years ago, interviews with 20 to 30 of the most successful players, and I've been very flattered to hear that it's inspired a lot of people to try contests who've been thinking about it, and I'm proud to say it's a great book. Again, less for anything I contributed than just for how generous some of these top players, Duke Matisse, Mike Maloney, you have Maury Wolf, you have insights from the best horse players in the world in this book. You can't help but learn something when you read their words on the page, and hopefully folks will check it out.
Winning Contest Player, again, it has already played into one of the players getting into the big tournament that DRF is now putting together. Don't forget, tournaments.drf.com. You go there. That's where you can get the rundown of all the upcoming contests. Highly recommended. As I say, I love the contest. Makes you think a little bit differently. I think overall it helps your handicapping, so highly recommended. You can jump on today. There's the free one today.
We got a free contest this Wednesday in honor of EquestriCon, and then we've got another one next week as well, and then feeders starting as low as $11, matchup contest where you can play against one other player. That's another fun way to get one's feet wet and an entertaining way to play the horses. Check it out, tournaments.drf.com.
I like it. Peter Thomas Fornatal, you can check out his work, dailyracingforum.com, drf.com, or the hard copy tournament coverage, very well handled by Pete. And again, the most recent article on the Saratoga Challenge was interesting. Is doubled up. That was in it. I'm waiting for the interview with him. I want to hear the strategy behind that. So that'll be an upcoming column. Pete, we appreciate the visit.
Cheers, my friend.
All right, I'm going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Again, let me remind you of promos and events. Bet 100, Get 100 wraps up today. So if you sign up for a new account today, Bet 100 in before midnight, you get 100. We go back to Bet 50, Get 50 tomorrow. Night racing continues here throughout the month. enjoy night racing. CapitalOTBBet.com here on the network as well. Today down to Clubhouse Racebook, the Win-A-Bet Wednesday, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Swing by the Teletheater for that. Tomorrow, a Fan Appreciation Day at the New Lebanon branch. Swing by, give us our chance to say thank you to you for your patronage. Friday, it's the Bounty Bet. It's a late pick 4 at Woodbine, over $1,200 up for grabs with the bounty. All you have to do is play the late pick 4 with your Capital Bets account, and you're in. Coming up on Saturday, Clubhouse Racebook, the $100 Trifecta Challenge. And on Sunday, it's a Naira Pick 4 Sunday down to Clubhouse Racebook. Again, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, I'm late, but I'll wrap things up. It was a gangbuster of a show. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed the races this afternoon. Cash a few tickets. See you right back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. for the Handicappers Report.
You've been watching Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America has been brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, any place, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.